Hello, poets. That's right. I called you a poet. Do you know why? Because for the next 3 weeks, you are going to be working on writing your own poetry. So we will be exploring poems and the words in poems and then trying it out ourselves. All right. So today we are going to start exploring some poems. You're a student, but I also have some students in here with me today that are going to kind of let you watch them learn the lesson. So at home, you can play along and learn if you have any students at your home. Um, this is Anne. She's one of my students. This is Speedy. He is one of my students. And of course, Baby Echo. So let's go ahead and watch as these three learn about poetry. So, kids, what do you think a poem is? I think poems rhyme. I agree with Baby Echo. Some poems rhyme, but some don't. I think poems are short and stories are long. I agree with Anne. A poem is usually on one page, and a story can be so long that it has chapters. Huh, good discussion, guys. So you're right, there's all different things that make a poem a poem. They don't have to rhyme. They're usually shorter, sometimes they're not, and we're going to be exploring all different poems over the next few days. Okay, the first poem I'm going to read to you is called Treehouse, and it's by Shel Silverstein. Have you heard of him? He's a pretty famous poet. So, a treehouse, have any of you ever been in a treehouse? Yeah, it's like a playhouse that's built up in a tree. They're super cool. So I want you to just close your eyes and try to make a picture in your head of the treehouse while you listen. Okay, Anne? Okay. All right, and you at home, you too. Treehouse by Shel Silverstein. A treehouse, a free house, a secret you and me house. A high up in the leafy branches, cozy as can be house. A street house, a neat house. Be sure and wipe your feet house. Is not my kind of house at all. Let's go live in a tree house. I'm going to read it one more time, and I really want you to try to think about what kind of place is a tree house? And what does the poet mean in some of these words? Listen one more time. A tree house, a free house, a secret you and me house, a high up in the leafy branches, cozy as can be house. A street house, a neat house, be sure and wipe your feet house, is not my kind of house at all. Let's go live in a tree house. All right, Speedy, I want you and Echo to talk. What kind of place is a tree house? What do you guys think? It's a secret place in the trees. In addition to what Baby Echo said, it's cozy. All right, and then Shel Silverstein talks about a street house. Anne, what do you think about a street house? I think it's like a regular house on a street. Yeah, I think that's what Shel Silverstein meant. So, here's what we're going to do next. We're going to jump into another poem by Shel Silverstein. It's called Boa Constrictor. Do you know what that is? It's a large snake that wraps itself around its prey. So, say it was going to eat Baby Echo, the snake would wrap its long body around Baby Echo before it eats it. So, again, I want you to close your eyes and make a picture in your head as I read it. I'll read it twice. And these poems are also on the next slide. Boa Constrictor by Shel Silverstein. Oh, I'm being eaten by a boa constrictor? A boa constrictor, a boa constrictor. I'm being eaten by a boa constrictor, and I don't like it one bit. Well, what do you know? It's nibbling my toe. Oh, gee, it's up to my knee. Oh my, it's up to my thigh. Oh fiddle, it's up to my middle. Oh heck, it's up to my neck. Oh drat, it's And you know what? And instead of me reading it one more time, if you want to go back and replay it, you can. So let's break it down and talk about this poem a little bit. I see I'm laughing. I see Baby Echo laughing a little bit. What was funny about this poem, you guys? Well, I thought it was funny because he says things that rhyme. Like he said, like, oh gee, oh my, oh fiddle, and it rhymed with a body part. Yeah, and I noticed that too. And then at the end when it said like, what do you think happened? I think that the snake was all the way up to his head and he couldn't talk anymore. Could you picture that happening in your minds at home? The boa constrictor working his way up the body as it eats him? Um, yeah, and let's talk about some of the words Shel Silverstein's picked. He says, "Oh, fiddle, it's up to my middle." What body part is the middle? Stomach, tummy, ribs. Yeah, there's tons of body parts in the middle. Why did he go from knee? Do you know where your knee is? To thigh to middle. Why did he call it a middle? Because in this poem he wanted to get some rhymes in, so it rhymed with fiddle. Oh, fiddle, it's up to my middle. All right. What words did you find interesting? I liked that fiddle and middle. Were there any words that you liked? Nibbling my toe, not just eating the toe. Okay. What about you, Anne? Yeah, I like the parts that rhyme. I thought it was weird that he says, I don't like it one bit if a snake is eating you. If a snake was eating me, I'd be screaming, ah, help me, it hurts. I wouldn't just say, I don't like it one bit. I thought that was funny. Thank you for sharing, Speedy. And now, when you go to the next slide, you're going to notice how the poem looks. And they're different from stories because sometimes the lines are short and they only have a few words. And stories would be much longer and have the text flowing. So I want you to take a look at the poems in the next two slides when you finish this video. And then you have a writing job. On your writing job, I want you in your notebook to pick out your three favorite words from these poems and write them on your notebook. And then below for your writing today, you can use those words to inspire you to write something else. It can be a poem. We haven't really talked about how to write a poem, so if you don't want to write a poem, it could just be a story, a letter. It can be any type of writing, but it has to use those three words. Let me show you an example. So I'm looking at the slides, I'm looking at the poems, and in Treehouse, I liked the word secret because when something is a secret, I kind of get curious and excited. Um, the word live because I could write a story about live and secret. All right, I'm gonna look at the next poem. Nibbling. I think that's just a funny word. And he doesn't even say nibbling, he says nibblin. He writes it like cuts off the G. So this is my notebook. I put the three words at the top, and then I'm going to write something. So I'm like, huh, how am I going to put these three words together? Maybe I'll start with once upon a time, there was a secret room inside the school at Eston School. And in there is where Speedy the Turtle lived. And every day he would get hungry and he'd be nibbling on the papers that the kids put in the recycling bin. And I could go on and on with my story. Or I could write a poem, whatever you want to do, using your three words. Have fun, writers and poets.